This is Luke Kunkle.
And this is Sean Perry.
We're from the Four Horsemen. We're here at Guitar World in New York City today to play you some Metallica. We'll start off with the verse riff of Metal Militia on the Kill 'Em All album because I like to start with things that are really hard to do right off the bat. Okay, so that is one of the hardest riffs that you'll ever play and sing over top of at the same time. And there's also screaming in there. So that is one of the reasons why, when it comes to Metallica, that's probably my all-time favorite riff to play. There's a lot of shifting in the riff, a lot of movement on the fretboard, and there's pickup notes behind the actual main notes as you're going down the riff, which makes this incredibly difficult to play without even trying to sing over top of it at first. So I'll show you it probably like a half speed here just to show you what's all going on. So you've got... Now all of that is done obviously without the muting, but when we get into the speed of it, you mute that so you don't really hear the pickup notes as pronounced as you would the main notes. So here we go. So that all in of itself is why I think still to this day is one of the hardest Metallica riffs ever written.
Next up, we're doing the section of Battery right before the main solo kicks in. That's always been one of my favorite Metallica moments ever. I remember when that came out in 1986, being negative 10 years old. What an album opener, and then every part of that song is epic. You go from a nice, clean opening section, dual leads, and then you get to that, and that just, I remember the first time I heard it, it absolutely blew my mind. I've just loved that song ever since.
I gravitate towards a challenge. I like to play things that are very hard to play. I don't know why, but it's just something that I've always gravitated to. So Battery, and this verse line when you're trying to play it and sing it is very complex, and your brain's going about 3 different directions at the same time. So I'll lead into it and show you how we play it, and then I'll slow it down half speed and show you that as well. So. Okay, so that leads into the verse line, of what's going on. So half speed would be... verses kick in. That verse riff is one where I usually tell the guys, just be on point and pull me through this, because it is very difficult to sing and play that section each, and I think there's 3 to 4 sections where you have to do that with the verses. And I always tell them, guys, I'm like a caboose with one wheel off the track, and just drag me to the finish line if you have to. So that's definitely one of the more challenging riffs to sing and play over top of.
So I will be doing the clean guitar section in the instrumental off the And Justice for All album entitled To Live Is To Die. This center section, I believe it was mostly the center section, That was actually a working of Cliff before he had passed away, and then they took it, finished the song out for him. But this is how this interlude acoustic section goes. There's actually a cool section of dual leads that go over, well, leads into that, and then the acoustic pattern is actually a combination of the dual leads and the rhythms that take place beforehand, but all just composed on a single string guitar. So it's pretty awesome. If you ever get a chance, I'd be sure to check it out. For this section in particular, I actually used the pick and watch the paint there, bud. Use my pick and my fingers. You can play it with just fingers, however you want to do it, but that's what I employ there. So it's predominantly your ring finger that's getting used, but I will throw the middle one in as well. So your two fingers here, they'll be taking care of all your high melody notes, and your pick will basically be carrying all the bass notes and the chord, outlining the chords there.
And your headstock will be chipping my paint.
Hey, you're chipping the wood, bud. Wood's more expensive than paint.
It's a good thing I had that lacquered.
You want it worse?
I'm going to go to the Injustice for All album, second side of your cassette, last song. This is Dyer's Eve, and another challenging song because of how tight the riffs are throughout the entire song. There's a lot of stopping, muting, also with the palm mutes and whatnot, but if it's played properly, this is one of those riffs where I do see a lot of people like playing it the wrong way, and I don't, it's not my job to correct anybody, but when I'm playing this on stage, I make sure that we're playing it the right way. So the riff that I'd be talking about is after the whole intro, where the drums do that nice tom work down, and it's just, it gets really fast, like right off the bat, and it goes. Big drum fill, and then that part is the hard part, and the next part is just full notes, so it's kind of easy because you're just. Okay, so what makes that part very difficult to play is when you're doing this, it's not really a pull off, but it's a pull down. I see a lot of people like to do. They like separate the notes out, and it's. You're pulling down into the B from the C, so it's. And you're setting yourself up for that power chord on the B when you're doing this little fill that James put in there. So it's right there. If you do it with the proper fingering, you'll get right back into that riff. So. And then there's like I want to say a dotted eighth note where you're going to hold that the second time through slightly longer than you would on the first time through. So there's so much going on in that it can get lost because it's such a fast part with a lot of drums and everything's going on at the same time. So if you really dissect the part, you'll see all of that stuff that's going on in there. And that's what makes that incredibly challenging to play, especially when your hands are freezing.
The next section we'll be tackling here would be the outro section of the song Sanitarium.
Luke will be doing the main riff, and then I will come over and take that over as he goes up to harmonize.
Flubbed it a little bit, but that's what lets you know that it is real.
I do play that outro rhythm part differently. I follow the drum pattern on the feet, so it's these are actual just chords. All that's just chords. I like to pick it out with our drummer when we do it live, just to accentuate the double bass that's going on underneath. So I'll do I do all the picking underneath just to give it a little flavor. But the notes are all the same, and it's like the album, so we're not changing the song up any. Just a little dynamic for you. On this next section, we're going to do a harmonized solo from the Ride the Lightning album and the Ride the Lightning song. I think midway through the song, when after Kirk's intro of that solo, he comes out into it. There's like a stop, and then there's this build up, and they do this cool harmony. So we're gonna play the harmony for you.
You want to just start from the harmony, or where
yeah,
you start?
Right up in the top here. As far as my section, I could tell you that the hardest arpeggiation that I do is right here when you're doing this pattern. So I don't know what these shapes would be technically called, but those are easy. And then you go back. But this one, you're barring. And I think that that's what makes this a challenge, because you don't want it to sound like, you want to try and get each note to enunciate properly so people can hear the separation. So that's like my hardest one, and then the other stuff is just stretching. That stuff, not as hard. I would say for my section anyway, that's your one that you want to really make sure you're picking it out so you can hear all of the notes.
Yeah, so for like the actual main lead section there, basically what we're doing is the rhythm behind is just C, B, B flat, A. So you're just doing the arpeggios from that. So you'd be on a C minor first, and you'll go to G major, then B flat, and then an A. Well, an A major there. And then, so that would be the whole first section, and then going up to the climbing. So and then that just harmonize with each other. So we're moving pretty much same shapes, just different positions going around.
This is a often requested and never played song that people ask us to do. And it's called Bread Fan. It was on the back of the Eye of the Beholder cassette single back before a lot of you kids were born. So I'm sorry that you don't know what a cassette is, but now you know a word. But anyway, it goes something like this. Okay, that's your opening riff that everybody knows and everybody loves, and then it goes into some other stuff. Haven't played that song in years, but I think we're probably going to have to add it back to the set because so many people keep asking us to play it.
One of my favorite riffs off the Black Album, the end of the album, the last song, Struggle Within. So the solo section goes on, then it would be like, I don't know if you'd call it a breakdown or a bridge or whatever, but goes a little something like this. And that comes directly after the solo. Simple riff, there's really not much to it. The way it falls in the song, I absolutely love the way it drives. I mean, the tempo doesn't change or anything, but just comes out of the stop, kicks in, and then stops again, and then you're back off to the races with the meat and potatoes. And that riff in particular, so there's a sliding section going on, and it can be a little tricky. You have to kind of watch what you're doing, because if you get carried away, you'll just have, and you don't want that. Each one's pronounced, so you have to be very careful on move, stop, move, stop, move, stop, move, stop. So just something to keep in mind when you play stuff like that.
Also, picking the first, pulling down to the second, picking the third. Each time he does that 3 section and then the next 3 sections. So there's a pick, there's a pull down, there's a pick, and then there's a pick and a pull down and a pick, if you're following along.
And a little piece of advice for the young players at home: if you're ever doing something, you start messing up, you just rock slide back to the 1 until you know it. Throw in one of these, the crowd will love it. They'll never even know.
Yeah, put some delay on it, they'll never know. For me, Black Album, I mean, you know, you've got your timeless songs like Enter Sandman. You got that, you got Sad But True with you. Stuff like that. I like, off that album was a song that was one of the last songs I had to learn, was Holier Than Thou. It has this this cool little riff going on while you have to sing the chorus, you know, of Holier Than Thou. But I just really like the way it was enunciated in the song, and it goes a little something like this. And you get into the verse line when you hit that G power chord. But as you're playing that, you know, it's holier than thou you are. So it's like a really cool meshing of the lyric and the riff at the same time, and I just really thought that was very powerful to me, and I had to learn it. So once I got that down, I was like really happy. It was kind of like opening a box of Cracker Jacks and finding a prize inside. So I like that riff a lot on the Black album. That's one of my favorites. So this section that we're going to do for you is from the song One on the Injustice for All album. If you notice, I do a little trill twice. There's several layers of guitars going on in that song, and that was one of the little pieces that stuck out to me. So when we're doing that, I always do that as a effect, like a delay effect, even though I don't have that going on, just to fill in the space a little bit. But if you listen to songs like One, or you listen to a song like Nothing Else Matters, or even To Live Is To Die, there's layers of acoustic things going on in there, so we tried to pick out the things that stick out the most to us.
It's actually a pretty neat section because James and Kirk are off doing two separate things. I mean, James is staying just outlining chords and doing like the little trill and stuff, where Kirk's doing a lot of this like double stop action and outlining chords. And it's all hybrid pick, so it gets a lot more twang in it. However you want to do it, fingered, hybrid, doesn't matter. But make sure you're plucking it to get the right tone. If not, it's a bit smoother. So
another song that has layering where James and Kirk are displaying their creativity would be Fade to Black. And you want to show them a little bit of that? We can do this. So check out what I'm doing, and then watch as Luke basically puts like frosting over top of a cake. It's really cool.
So essentially, Kirk is just following and doing inversions of the chords going on there. So we have A minor, then we come up to C, and then goes to G, correct? So that's what we got going on here. Then he comes in and he does this inversion of E. But what's cool about it is the first time it's, and then the second time, to make it different, you're in the same place. You just, when you hear it in context, same notes, you'll hear the difference there if you pay attention to it.
We do it a little differently because everybody knows that James starts this song off, and rightfully so. You know, he's the riff master of all things Metallica. Unfortunately for me, I incurred, I don't know if you can see this lumpy mess here. When I was 14, I decided that kickball was fun, and went and played it a little bit, and I'm coming around, rounding the base to go home, and my buddy took my legs out with the ball, and I slammed my arm down on the ground, ripped off the tendon, and the doctor said, well, just keep doing this, and there's nothing else we can do for you at the time. So that was back when doctors weren't so advanced as they are today. You know, 14, and it was about 30-some years ago. So when I'm playing, this swells a lot. And so the way we do Master of Puppets is we usually come out of the song Battery into Master of Puppets, and then sometimes we'll even do a third song after that nonstop. By the time Battery is done, this is all swollen. So Luke takes over the beginning intro riff and gives my arm a break so it can recover a little bit. So I'm going to have Luke start off the song like we do live. So yeah, that's a little bit of Master Puppets for you, and yeah, that definitely hurts the elbow. In playing something, especially a lot of Metallica, the thing that we get the most is, do you do all the down picks? And yes, we have to do all the down picks. We're a tribute to Metallica. So if you don't do that, you're going to get destroyed by the fans. The thing you have to remember too, and it's hard to do this sitting down, is you have to relax your forearm. You can't just, because if you tighten all that up and you keep going, this is fast twitch muscle, and you're going to get a ton of lactic acid, and you're not going to be able to keep up for the rest of the song, which is like 8 minutes long, I think, 8.5 minute long song. What you have to do is use your wrist. You got to get that wrist to do all the down picking for you and trying to keep this relaxed so that you can endure through that. So that's one of the biggest things to do, is focus on the wrist instead of, okay, because that, you're going to burn out with that. So get your wrist speed up, and right now I know we played that a little bit slow, but we're cold. But you can do it. And you can slow these things down. YouTube has a little feature that you can slow it down on. You can also download a free player. I think it's VLC. You can slow it down on there as well and get your speed up so that you can actually play along with the album and have fun doing it. So hopefully that helps. Your tone and the equipment that you're using does matter to an extent. So if you've got a good tone, like this isn't, I'm using the Spark Mini today. It's a cool tone. It's not their tone, but it's one that is going to match up to a metal sound. The only other thing that's really going to give you the difference is how you're playing these things. Like if I played, that's not how they did it. So a lot of it is your technique of your hands. How are you playing? Are you palm muting it? Are you open? Are you raking the string? Are you plucking the string? And, you know, muting down here so that you don't have open notes on the other strings that you're not using as well. So a lot of it does come down to how you're picking. And you're not hearing, even though it's there, you're hearing. So it's how you're playing and how you're plucking and picking. So a lot of it is the user, not just, oh, I have a metal amp and I should sound like Metallica now, or AC/DC, or whoever it is. You have to listen, and you've got to comprehend, how are they playing? Are they playing it down there? Or are they playing it up here? Or you're going to have different tones. It's more rounded up here, more sharp down here, and not so sharp there. So listen to the album and make sure you're in the right spots as well, because that makes a big difference on how you're going to sound when you're playing the songs. So that's some of the things that we like about what we're doing with this music is we try to play everything as close to the album as possible. Within our abilities, of course, you know, we're human, it's live, there's nothing on tracks. But we really like the dynamics that the old school Metallica stuff just brought to the table and changed the game, basically, for all of metal, to be honest. So it's really cool to be playing this stuff, and we're blessed to have people come out, you know, it's great. I was 16 when I saw Metallica on the Black Album tour, 91, at Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio, which is just south of Cleveland. And I grew up with my brother's metal tapes and his buddy's metal tapes, and I was like, man, this Metallica band is like, it's the shit. You know, everybody has to check this stuff out. So when they went to the Black Album, everybody got mad. And I was like, well, songs are still pretty heavy. James is still singing, like, you know. I was like, I like it. I'm not going to hate on it. But they got on the radio with that, and with that became a gigantic monster, you know. And I know it's money, you know. You're making more money if you're on mainstream radio rather than being underground. But the next album was 96. So you've got 91 Black Album and nothing until 96, because they toured off of that success. You know, that's when they played for 1 million people over in Moscow and all that stuff was happening. They were on top of the world. Well, now I'm 21 when Load comes out, and Lars was out there hyping it. This is going to be the heaviest thing Metallica's ever done, and I'm like, wow, I can't wait to get this album. I'm going to go out and buy it as soon as it hits the stores. I'm buying it because I'm like, they're going back to Puppets and Justice. This is going to be it, man. They did that one album to get the radio stuff. Now they're going back to us, and man, did they go sideways. I was like, they're wearing eyeliner and fingernail polish, and they cut their hair off, and these songs sound like country. I'm like, oh man, I was so mad. Again, 21 years old. I was
Can't lie though, Fuel has one of the grooviest riffs ever.
Oh, I didn't even like the way he sang it. I was just like, what is this? What was it? Ain't My Bitch? And he's like, ain't my bitch, ah. And I was like, oh no. So after, now I'm in my late 40s, and I'm like, yeah, I can listen to Load and Reload. It's a rock album. My younger self would be like, screw that, I want metal. And it's like, well, James even said this. He goes, I'm not going to write the same album for 40 years. They change. As a kid, I couldn't. Your brain is too small to realize, hey, James doesn't want to write Master of Puppets for the next 35 years.
One
Screw
out of
you.
3 million bands pulled it off.
So yeah, they're probably one of the only bands that I have seen go from underground metal, hard rock radio, country rock, and now trying to get back to what they did originally with metal. So it's like, who has done that and for 40 some odd years toured on their own? They'll go down in history as the longest running band who did it on their own ever. Not Rolling Stones, not Aerosmith, not Led Zeppelin. Nobody has done what Metallica's done. So you got to give props to those guys. Thank you to Guitar World for having us out here. Thank you to all the fans around the world that have really pushed this band out there so that Guitar World even knew we existed. We are the Four Horsemen. It's a celebration of Metallica. You can find us at www.fourhorses.me. That's for the word, F-O-U-R, and .me as in me, not him, me. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, and I think we just got an account on X. So if you guys are on those social media outlets, and we're also on YouTube, you can find us there as well. If you're on those, check out the shows. Upcoming shows will be on our tour page of our website. We do have a giant one that I wouldn't mind plugging if you don't mind, which is January 26th. It's a Sunday in Uncasville, Connecticut. We will be headlining the Mohegan Sun Arena. It's a 10,000 seat room, and hopefully if you're anywhere near there, we'll see you there. So thanks for having us, guys. It was great, and hopefully I'll get to see this and say, hey, wow, I do look fatter on camera.